Oh, let's pause that. Welcome you if you're just coming in. I'm Mike Mallory, the President of Leadership Development and Strategic Foresight for SGR, and I'm our host, and really glad you're here. If you will, why don't you use the chat box as we're waiting for folks to kind of get in and get going, and just introduce yourself and say good morning or good afternoon, depending upon where you are coming from. And we'll get started with our guest here in just a moment. Uh, well, I'm always the one that's stirring up sports hate at SGR, just to make sure I'm giving us something to do. And uh, I have a friend that said that's what makes the world go round. So, well, let's get started. I want to introduce our guest today. I'm really excited about this webinar. We're privileged to have Don Jacobson with us, who's with the city of Las Vegas, Nevada. And his position with them is a business partner in the information technologies department. But what he's really engaged in is running the International Innovation Center. And I think we all recognize Las Vegas has an incredible reputation they've earned for being an innovative city. And we're going to hear some about that. Don's involved in, of course, smart city initiatives, civic engagement, open government collaboration, and with both public and private partners. He's got a background working with the United States Department of Energy. And before that, or including working with Nellis Air Force Base. And so, Don, thank you for joining us today. And I'm really excited to hear about some of these things that you're doing. And we want to throw the ball to you and let you run with it. And again, thank you for being here with us.
Oh, thank you very much, Mike. Privileged to be here. And yes, as Mike alluded to, I've had a very long career, been at this since 1980, basically 20 years with contractors to the federal government, and then the last 25 years working in local government. And as Mike mentioned, my office is in the International Innovation Center for the city of Las Vegas. We have two of them now, looking to open a third. And in fact, you can't quite see it, but in the conference room behind me, we have a delegation, a trade organization from Korea that's visiting right now. And as soon as they head out, then I'm going to be hosting a group from Subaru in Japan that'll be here with the NTT data to talk about autonomous vehicles. We were the first city to operate an autonomous shuttle on open roads in our entertainment district, but that's a subject for another time. Today, I really want to talk about sports because for years, the tagline, people always knew Las Vegas as the entertainment capital of the world, and that was a well-deserved reputation. And now Las Vegas is emerging as the sports, entertainment, and innovation capital of the world. So basically three different disciplines, if you will, coming together to really accelerate Las Vegas into the next quarter of this century. Las Vegas is always reinventing itself. And I'm very excited about this latest iteration and the part that the city of Las Vegas and myself get to play in it. So let's talk a little bit about tourism and smart tourism. The city of Las Vegas, our population is 650,000. There's 2.5 million people in the valley, but we play host to 44 million visitors a year. We're on pace in a few years to reach 52 million visitors a year. And so what does that mean? It means that every week we have an extra million guests coming into town. So in a valley of 2.5 million, when you increase by 1/3 every single week with visitors, who want to be entertained, they want to get around easily, they want to feel safe, and they just want to have a good time so that they are excited to come back again. And we want the same thing. We want them to like Las Vegas so much that they come over and over again to visit us. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes, a lot of public and private partnerships and collaboration and communication that goes on in order to make that happen. So with regard to tourism, there's a term, well, you know, smart cities, that term's been around for a while. Las Vegas, we put out a strategy pre-pandemic to strive to be a model smart city by 2025. We've been done very well on our progress with that. But again, that's something for another seminar, perhaps. All cities really strive to be smart, but not all cities are tourism hotspots like Las Vegas is. By 2030, 1.8 billion people are expected to travel the world, highlighting the importance of placemaking. Now, Las Vegas for decades has been a global destination for both tourism and business travel. As I mentioned, 44 million visitors annually, probably half of those here on business, the other half here for leisure and pleasure. So the total economic output of visitor spending in Las Vegas in 22 reached nearly $80 billion. That's billion with a B. That was a 25% increase over 2019, which was pre-pandemic. So suffice it to say, there's a lot of green that goes along with all of those visitors coming here, whether it's for business or for pleasure. The tourism industry, it's the largest regional employer with 230,000 jobs up and along the famous Las Vegas Strip. And of course, all the logistics behind that, everything from warehousing to transportation. The direct and indirect impacts included, there's 360,000 people in our valley who depend on us having a smart and sustainable tourist economy. Now, Las Vegas, we seek to bolster our leisure and business attractions by modeling ourselves as a global pinnacle of urban themed destinations. So when people mention the Strip, they usually say the famous Las Vegas Strip and the aforementioned entertainment capital of the world. So that's a theme that no amount of money can buy. That's been built up with decades of hard work by a lot of people to give Las Vegas a great reputation. Now, visitors, whether they're here for business or for pleasure, they're the focal point for everyone involved in the hospitality and convention industry, from hotels to local government, like the city of Las Vegas that I work for. Our focus is visitor first. Well, you know, what can we do to make their experience as pleasurable as possible? So smart tourism, it's a dynamic connection of the human experience by leveraging technology and data. Las Vegas, we've already begun taking steps to deploy technologies and networks that improve the efficiency of our resource management, particularly when it comes to deploying resources and enhancing sustainability to maintain our competitiveness. We're making investments all the time to modernize our operations, to streamline how payments are made, and basically to amplify every touch point for the visitors. And when I say we, I'm not just talking about City of Las Vegas. I'm talking about all the other agencies in the public sector, and then all of the hospitality and gaming destinations in the private sector. It's wherever we interact with the visitor or with our own local residents and businesses, we want to make that as easy as possible. So the application of smart concepts, that's critical in every element of the gaming, hospitality, and convention industries. This spans from the generation of information to sharing that information to actions taken based on that information. Excuse me while I turn off my phone for a second. So the generation of information, obviously the city of Las Vegas itself generates a lot of data. All the other public agencies do, all of the hotel and gaming establishments do. And now with the Internet of Things, we have tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of more devices that are out there generating data all the time, data that we have to make sense of, we have to make secure, and we have to make it easy to analyze in order for us to either provide the answer to the question or to deploy the right resource at the right time. So smart concepts facilitate the shaping of any products that we have to offer, any actions that we take, any processes that we follow, and all of our services. And the most important thing, all of that is in real time. We're a 24/7 town. So the way we do this, we engage all the stakeholders simultaneously to optimize the collective performance and competitiveness and generate solutions that are of value to everyone. And when I say everyone, it's not just from our side, it's from the visitors' side as well, that they see value in it. So by combining all of these elements that I mentioned, we're striving to create an environment in which a visitor can feel safe, they feel they can prosper, unless they're losing at the tables, and thus triggering positive user experiences all around. So due to the importance of tourism as a linchpin in our local economy, Las Vegas, we really seek to leverage our smart model on these elements: the attractions, the accessibility, the amenities, the activities, and the ancillary services. Attractions, that's obviously, that's both our hotels and gaming destinations, the accessibility, that's mobility, getting around, as well as when you're at the site itself, how easy it is, how seamless it is for you to get your desired product or service. The amenities, which obviously Las Vegas has loads of those, great food, great entertainment, and now great sporting events. And then the ancillary services, that's everything behind the scenes to ensure that it's a pleasurable experience for all involved. Now, we apply tech in an innovative way, connecting every stakeholder via our digital infrastructure, and we try to experience our tourist experience through digitization. So the blueprint for success that we follow is basically state-of-the-art infrastructure: sustainable development, equitable access, free Wi-Fi in the street and our public spaces, multiple means of mobility, real-time situational awareness, and interactive activities. So technologies ranging from AI to augmented reality to 5G and the IoT are being deployed, connected and mixed, leveraged to provide richer and more impactful experiences to visitors. So what does this all have to do with sports? All of our sporting events, obviously, given their popularity, there's a lot of people at them. There's a lot of moving parts to ensure that a sporting activity takes place successfully. The venues are very large. There's a lot of people involved, both in the public and private sector. So I'm going to step back a moment and let's just talk about why we're beyond being just an entertainment capital of the world. We're being now a sports and entertainment capital of the world. And I add on that tagline of innovation to that, because the only way that we're going to achieve the proper coming together of those two things, sports and entertainment, is through innovation. So as locals and visitors both know, Las Vegas has always served as a sporting hub for viewing and betting on sports. Our sporting tradition goes back decades with boxing. Everyone of a certain age can remember Tyson versus Holyfield, Hagler versus Hearns, Ali versus Holmes, most of which the venues where those were held at We're at the casinos themselves and not purpose-built venues. Now, in the past decade, much has changed. Hometown sports are on the rise. We've assembled new teams, we've built new stadiums, and we've earned new fans. So basically, we've evolved from being just Sin City to now being Win City. So from the PGA to the NBA, you can watch it here in our sports mecca, whether it's March Madness, the NBA Summer League, professional bull riding, you name it, they're all either on tap live here or able to view on multiple very large screens in our sports books, which is, I would argue that those are as big as the casinos themselves in terms of revenue, is the sports betting that takes place here. So let me talk a little bit about some of the hometown teams. We now have the NFL Raiders who moved here. They play out of Allegiant Stadium, which has capacity for 65,000 guests. We've had the Super Bowl here. We hosted that earlier this year, back in February. The NFL Draft is hosted here, or has been hosted here, and will so in the future. We now have in the National Hockey League, the Las Vegas Golden Knights. They play at T-Mobile Arena, which has capacity of 20,000 guests. We've, as I mentioned, with the NFL Draft, we've also had the NHL Draft here, which took place at our famous Las Vegas Sphere, which is probably our top tourist destination now, and it's only been around for 1 year, but it's almost surpassed the Eiffel Tower as an iconic landmark. The other things we have now is UFC. Obviously, we've had fights, plenty of main events here. More than 100 UFC fights have been held here, 4 times than any other city in the world. And MMA is here as well. UFC has their headquarters here and training facilities. Now we have the WNBA Aces. They're 2-time champions. They play out of Mandalay Bay, which has capacity for 12,000 guests. We have several minor league teams, from our Aviators baseball to our Las Vegas Lights soccer and our AHL Silver Knights. I mentioned earlier about rodeo. We have the National Finals Rodeo and PBR. Both of those events over the course of their week attract about 200,000 guests. We have 2 NASCAR Cup races and plenty of other motorsports races that take place at our Las Vegas Motor Speedway, which has capacity anywhere from 80,000 to 140,000 guests. And of late, the most recent one is the Formula One Las Vegas Grand Prix, which is run as a street circuit on the Las Vegas Strip itself. The inaugural event last November attracted 350,000 viewers, or in-person guests, and another 2.7 billion viewers on TV. I mean, that's Olympic and World Cup numbers for the viewers to watch that. So how are we able to do it? Well, having more hotel rooms, 155,000 than any other U.S. destination, allows us to, for example, host both the NFL Pro Bowl and the NHL All-Star Weekend at the same time. So we can have multiple sporting and entertainment events that attract tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of visitors on a single weekend, because of the capacity that we have for housing all of those guests. Now, this is a great incentive for fans, because they're not faced with the dilemma where hotels are sold out before they even have a chance to buy their tickets to see the event. So none of those events could have happened here without the addition of the venues that we've been building almost as fast as we've been building houses here. And the next one that I believe is coming online, Oakview Group, they're a venue development company behind major projects globally. They plan to build a $3 billion sports and entertainment district in Las Vegas, which will have another arena that will probably be host to it, an NBA team. So I'd like to focus on the Formula One for a moment, and if you allow me to change my screen here. So let's talk about that Formula One event. First one was last November. On November 19th of last year, Harry Reid International Airport, that was the second busiest airport in the United States. It had 2,200 operations. That's basically takeoffs and landings that day. We had 1,200 general aviation arrivals for the Grand Prix. So that's 1,200 flights full of hundreds of people coming here specifically to attend the race. We had a 747-800 operated out here. That's first one in our facility. And in addition to the capacity of our airport and the number of visitors, the Formula One organizers themselves, they constructed within a year a 4-story, 300,000 square foot paddock in 18 months from the time that the certificate or they broke ground to the certificate of occupancy was issued. In addition to that, there were 56 new businesses that were issued licenses specific for the Grand Prix. The total revenue gain for that weekend was approximately $1.2 billion. Now, all of that, when we talk about the money being made and the number of guests that were served, a lot goes behind the scenes, obviously, for the safety and security of the event itself. And that takes year-round communications amongst all the public sector agencies, as well as the state of Nevada and the federal government to coordinate our resources. Some interesting stats on permitting. There were 58 fire prevention permits submitted. We deployed Clark County Fire District resources to provide, not only for the crowds themselves, but for the race car drivers, ambulance and fire services. So when we did all of that, what we were able to assure the organizers of the Formula One is that in less than 10 minutes, we could transport a driver from an accident in the race or transport a guest that may have been injured or come ill from the hot track to University Medical Center, which is our tier 1 center for medical services, in 10 minutes, right? Which is incredible. Our Clark County Fire District, they've received more than 100 hours of training on how to extract a race car driver from a crashed race car and from the hybrid vehicles themselves. Those are the support vehicles to the race. So there were several things that had to take place infrastructure-wise to pull this off. We had to completely resurface the roadways, and we're talking the most traveled roadways in Nevada, if not the United States, the Las Vegas Strip, because we had to bring those up to the level necessary to do Grand Prix racing on that. So that was beneficial not only to the race itself, but to the public, the quality of the surface of the streets where the race takes place. The Las Vegas Water District, they had to do an enormous amount of infrastructure work for basically inserting additional valves and having the capacity to take off any water should it rain in the resort corridor. We provided permits to 230 temporary food establishments and 260 food sampling stations. This was, suffice it to say, this was our largest sporting event and the largest global audience in terms of viewership in Las Vegas history. I mentioned that probably $1.2 billion in revenue was taken in on that. there was $77 million of that was just in tax revenues for state and local governments. So it's a big win for everybody involved. So there were challenges. Of course, there were challenges to our Department of Aviation to handle all of those flights. There were challenges to our building department to issue all of those permits and do all those inspections. Challenges to our business licensing department to issue all of those licenses and to do the follow-up. Obviously, to our emergency management operations, huge impact on that, both in terms of prevention and fire services and emergency services that day. Huge impact on our public works, but great cooperation from the organizers of the Formula One Grand Prix to work with on that. Big challenges for our Metropolitan Police Department, which City of Las Vegas, which I work for, we provide 40% of their funding. Clark County provides 60% of their funding, but they're a totally independent agency. Impact on the Water District, Regional Transportation Commission, which is responsible for our mass transit, as well as the roadways themselves, our Health District, our Water Reclamation District. We expect when we host it again in November, we'll probably exceed 1.5 billion in economic impact, at least 884 million in visitor spend. Millions of dollars have been poured into infrastructure already. More is being poured into as we speak. The wages to local workers reached $52 million just for that weekend. We expect the same in 2024. So suffice to say, it was a great success. There were many challenges that were overcome. I would love to provide anybody the details. Feel free to email me at djacobson@lasvegasnevada.gov or look me up through our innovate.vegas website. If you submit any form on that website, it comes directly to me, because I would love to talk to you more about not only what we're doing with the sports, entertainment, and innovation, what we're doing with our modeling ourselves as a smart city, but many other programs and challenges that we're seeking to overcome. Got tons of facts and figures, tons of anecdotes to help you out if you're curious. So I see that we're getting close to 9:30. Maybe we can turn it over to some Q&A at this time.
Yeah, thank you, Don. Man, I would tell you, I was not aware of how extensive that your commitment to sports and that part of your business is. It's amazing. Have you had any pushback from your more traditional means of revenue through the casinos, for example, in this new emphasis? Has there been any stress there? And if so, how have you handled that?
So the stress came from small businesses in the immediate area surrounding the Grand Prix area, to speak about just one event. The casinos loved it, right? Tons of visitors, everything was at capacity. All the restaurants were full, all the shows were full. Small businesses were impacted in terms of access. And in terms probably of revenue that maybe they missed out on. So we've worked with them. We heard what they had to say. We've been working with them throughout the year on how we could make improvements to access, how we could promote them as a small business. So, okay, maybe you want to go to Caesar's Palace and you want to have the buffet there. Well, you know what? The line's going to be long. It's going to cost you a lot of money. Here's an alternative buffet that's operated by a small business, or maybe to get merch for the Formula One. You don't have to go into a casino itself to do that. Here's small businesses that will provide those sorts of things. And do I expect that we'll have all the answers and challenges addressed in 2024? No, we'll make progress. Every year we seek to take those lessons learned and just make things better. I'll tell you what in terms of the locals, there's more impact with the Las Vegas Marathon than there is even with the Las Vegas Grand Prix or the Super Bowl. Obviously, Super Bowl is pretty much contained to a stadium. When they have to close roadways to do that, to do a marathon or to do, say, the New Year's celebrations, and people, their favorite road is closed off, right? They get so angry. But we have no income tax here. Our property taxes are low. Our sales tax is pretty low. In short, the reason all those taxes are low is because we're making all the revenue with the general sales taxes paid for by the public, room tax, rental car tax, et cetera, et cetera. So we do enjoy a very good quality of life here, paid for by visitors, so we could put up with some of those inconveniences.
Yeah, for sure. Well, one other question I have that I want to ask is, what's the impact been, and how have you navigated this with your public safety, particularly law enforcement, but also your fire and safety? What's that been like, and how have you guys addressed it?
Yeah, and beyond just Formula One, every large activity that we have here, whether it's a Super Bowl, or it doesn't even have to be sports, it could be the entertainment thing. Like when we host the Electric Daisy Carnival out at our Las Vegas Speedway, we're talking 150,000 people that are out there in the heat. I think it was exceeded 100 degrees the weekend that they had it here. And some of the people are enjoying substances that the majority of us are not partaking in. So obviously there's great concern there, both in terms of heat exhaust and dehydration, drug overdoses, those sorts of things. So there's an enormous amount of work that needs to planning that goes in and communications amongst the different first responders here to prepare even for an event like that, to ensure that we get there quickly and we can get the people to the care they need quickly, whether it be on site, a triage center, Flight for Life to our university medical center, depending on the severity of it. And so there's training involved, there's communications protocols involved, there's cooperation and collaboration is the most important thing, so that you don't get the case of finger pointing afterwards. Well, I thought that was your job. No, I thought that was your job. And I'll tell you, not all of this stuff necessarily requires on us having to put sensors out in the field, like cameras and things, to keep track of the activities, though we do. A lot of that is just generated by devices we hold ourselves, in social media. We listen to social media, and let me tell you, if there's an incident going on from social media, the tweets that are put out there, and the other social media postings, sometimes before even 911 knows, right? Because anymore, people, before they call 911, they're sending a video of what's going on, as well as sensors and data that's being emitted from the biggest smart device that we have, which is our cars now, right? When we're driving our cars, we're putting data in the airwaves about how fast we're driving, whether we're doing hard braking, abrupt lane changes. And aside from events themselves, we're using that data to help us better manage traffic in response to incidents. So example, we use data from Waze, which is data totally free to us, data that's just out there in the airwaves, that's generated by people using the Waze in their car, to know when vehicles in an area are reducing speed quickly, hard braking, quick lane changes. So with that, we're able to predict where accidents may occur, and we can pre-position first responders, ambulance, police, which would be highway patrol, wreckers to tow off the cars. We found using that data, we're able to get to the scene much quicker, and we're able to clear the scene much quicker.
Yeah.
So the next thing is, okay, if you're able to predict where accidents are going to occur, what are you going to do to prevent them from occurring, since you think they're going to happen there? So we're looking at things, whether it's in-car communications with alerts, digital signage, various other things that we in our capacity local government can do to get the message out that, hey, you're entering a danger zone, proceed with caution. I'll give you an anecdote. Right out in front of my office is a four-way, one-way street. Occasionally cars drive the wrong way. But I can't tell you 24/7, but I tell you what, with video cameras and video analytics, I can tell you the behavior they exhibited before they drove the wrong way, the behavior they exhibited when they realized they were going the wrong way. And I can conduct experiments at different intersections with different possible solutions. I could say, well, if we had a public awareness campaign or more enforcement or digital signage or traffic furniture or connected vehicles messaging, and I can look at the data with all of those different experiments, and I can say, you know, of all those different options, this one worked the best to reducing wrong way drivers. So there's just so much that we have our fingers on, in our ears and our eyes, listening and seeing. The rub is that there's so much now. How do you separate the wheat from the chaff, the signal from the noise? And so we're working on that. We're hoping AI can really help with that. We're doing lots of edge computing now to make decisions that a human used to have to make in terms of mobility and transportation and pedestrian and car safety. But it all comes down to priorities and revenue and our budget, limitations, resources.
Yeah, the alignment. So, well, this has been fascinating, Don. Thank you so much. I really am now kind of excited to dive in a little bit deeper and maybe talk with you offline about some things that
come to Vegas.
Okay,
come to Vegas. Love to host anyone here at our Innovation Center, which is located in the heart of downtown. If you're in town for a convention or conference, hit me up, D Jacobson at lasvegasnevada.gov or the Innovate.Vegas website. Love to share our story with you and help your own city out.
That's great. Well, thank you so much. And thank you to everyone that's watched this. You can also find this on SGR's YouTube channel and view it there.
YouTube.
Yeah, I want to give a plug in for next week's webinar. We have Scott Houston from TMLRP with his dad, Ben Houston, talking about servant leadership as Ben first experienced it with TDI. And if you're familiar with the story of servant leadership, TDI was one of the first companies that sort of piloted the principles that Robert Greenleaf was writing about. And I think you're going to find it to be a fascinating story. So join us for that. Thanks to everyone and for all of your help, Lisa Shook behind the scenes, and Don for you joining us. Hope you have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you down the road.
Thank you, SGR. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.